Welcome to Finding Your Worth From Within, the podcast where I'm going to be helping you up-level your life, find your true self, and ignite the best version of you. I'm your host, Sana, your go-to self-worth mentor, facilitating hundreds of women to unlock your self-belief, master your emotions, and take back control of negative thoughts. We're going to be covering everything self-worth for South Asian women, how to ditch your self-doubt, kick other people's judgment to the curb, and learn how to finally use your voice clearly and with confidence. With the practical tools and spiritual teachings that I give you in this podcast, don't be surprised when this magic begins to massively elevate your life. So whether you're going for a walk, driving home, or listening with a cup of coffee, let's get stuck in. Welcome to today's episode where we're diving into how to set boundaries without being labelled as bitchy. Because yes, everybody thinks it, that setting boundaries means getting all Sasha fierce, stepping into some attitude and being harsh, but it's really not. First things first, boundaries are simply rules that you put in place for yourself so that you aren't bending over backwards for people all the time and you don't feel drained. Every day you only have a limited amount of energy. Think of it as 100%. If certain situations or people are draining that energy, it's just not okay, and it's more than okay to set healthy boundaries. In fact, it's essential. These boundaries act like a shield, protecting your well-being and keeping you from feeling constantly depleted. Now let's tackle a common myth. Boundaries are not rude or selfish. So many of us feel guilty about setting them or saying no. But here's the question, why? If you saw your child, younger sibling, niece or nephew being drained from something, wouldn't you tell them to stop doing that thing? Wouldn't you tell them to put some distance in between them and the situation? So why do you think it's okay to keep yourself open all the time? Why is it okay for everyone to access your energy? You have a front door on your house to protect your physical space. So why wouldn't you have a door on your personal energy that you can open and close accordingly? Just because somebody is a family member, it doesn't mean they get a free pass to your energy or a free pass to drain you. Now, boundaries can come in many shapes and forms, physical, mental, emotional. Most of the time, boundaries are things that are put in place by you and not others, and this is a huge misconception. Often, people try to set boundaries and expect other people to adhere to your rules. However, you can't control anyone else's behavior, so true boundaries come from adjusting your own actions and choices to protect your energy, not from trying to adjust other people's. Let me give you an example. I had a client who was feeling drained by her mum's constant phone calls about her sister. There was a family situation going on and her mum kept calling her 3 to 4 times a day. And if she didn't answer or asked mum to stop calling, it would turn into, why haven't you answered? I need to talk to you, or don't you care about your sister? Like I said, my client had asked her mum not to call, but you can't change other people's behaviors. So what we did instead was she set her a boundary and we worked the communication really lovingly, calmly, so that she was able to express how she felt and explain to her mum that this wasn't the right thing for both of them. It went a little like this. Mum, I understand you're going through a hard time and I'm happy to help you look for counselling because this seems to be having a toll on your mental health. I can see it really draining you, but I'm not going to be able to take the multiple calls every day because it's affecting my work and family time as well. I absolutely love you and I can see this is really hurting you, so I do want to help, but I just think counselling will be way better for you than calling me all the time. I'm going to call you in the evenings every day so you can update me then, but I'm not going to be answering your calls throughout the day. Do you see how there's love and compassion in that communication? She's acknowledged her mom's struggles with compassion and offered a constructive solution that could actually help. At the same time, she's clearly communicated how this was impacting her and set a loving, firm boundary. Fewer calls during the day. By doing this, she showed her love and care while prioritising her own well-being. She changed her behaviour by not answering her mum's calls throughout the day, which meant she was more focused on her priorities and less drained when she did speak to mum. What we actually uncovered with this client was that deep down, the reason she hadn't been stricter with mum in the first place was that she was the family fixer, the one everyone went to with their problems. So subconsciously, she actually liked the feeling of being needed and validated because it gave her a sense of purpose. But in reality, it was draining her. Needless to say, we quickly worked on changing that. But I want you to think, do you have a secondary gain in a situation where you're not setting boundaries? Maybe it's feeling like it's draining you in your conscious mind or in reality, but are you subconsciously holding on to a situation that's draining you because it's giving you something positive? Maybe it's giving you validation, maybe it's giving you purpose, maybe it's making you feel loved or a sense of importance even. Setting boundaries doesn't always have to mean saying no. You can create rules that align with your values and morals whilst protecting your energy. Do what feels good for you. I will always remember a client of mine who didn't get on with her mother-in-law, and her mother-in-law was actually not very nice to her, and they'd had a recent argument, but it was the mother-in-law's birthday the next week. She didn't feel like she wanted to be around her mother-in-law, and in our session she was very adamant that I'm not going to take the kids, I'm not going to go around, I'm not going to wish her happy birthday. And my simple advice to her was, I want you to check in whether that aligns with you, and if it does, then perfect, do that. But before you do and carry out your actions, just check whether it aligns with you. The next time we spoke, in fact, she told me that she had taken the kids around, she had stayed by the car, the kids had gone to the grandma's house, given a card, given a present, and she stayed back because it didn't align with her values and morals to keep her kids away from their grandmother. However, she had put her boundary in place that she would not have any communication and she was keeping her distance. Do you see how she was able to create her own version of her own rules to stick by? Now, when we speak about boundaries coming in different shapes and forms, one area that is often overlooked is boundaries with yourself. Let's be honest. When you set healthy boundaries with yourself and create a bit more structure, everything else naturally falls into place. For example, setting a boundary around your morning routine, going to bed on time, making sure you go to bed on time, making sure you're not scrolling for hours on end, or setting a rule and boundary with yourself that actually you're not going to look at your phone before you go for your morning walk so that you don't fall into that scroll doom. This helps create ease and flow instead of starting your day feeling flustered and chaotic. So boundaries with yourself is actually a really overlooked area, but when you think of it as rules and structure, it is the best thing to do. And then how can we forget the hardest boundary to set of all? The boundary around your heart. When people hurt you time and time again, you are allowing them to. Let's get this straight. You are allowing them to have access to you. You are allowing them to hurt you. You have the power to set boundaries, to set distance, and to keep your heart safe. So to wrap up today's session, setting boundaries doesn't make you mean or selfish. It makes you intentional and self-respecting. When you take charge of your energy and how it's spent, you're not just honoring yourself, but also showing others how to value and respect you. Whether it's boundaries with loved ones, colleagues, or even with yourself, it's about creating a life where you're not constantly pouring from an empty cup. Remember, you can't be everything for everyone all of the time. So start small, communicate with love and clarity, and see how those little shifts create a ripple effect of peace and empowerment in your life. You've got this, one boundary at a time. Thank you so much for listening today, and remember to share this episode with anyone you feel may need to hear it. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Finding Your Worth from Within. If today's message resonated with you, it would mean the world to me if you could follow, rate, and leave a review. Sharing the podcast with someone that you feel may benefit is the best way to help it grow and spread this important message. To stay connected between episodes, come hang out with me on Instagram @Mentoring. Can't wait to see you there.